Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and continue on getting this ink ready for paint. I don't know how far I'm going to get, but we're just going to start blocking everything, get the first block on, get some glazing on stuff, and then paint some more jams and pieces and stuff, and then see how far we get into paint. We'll see how it goes. Talk to you later in the video. There's a neat little right here, right up there. Straighten all that out. Let's see. Well, actually, right there. Your little right here. And this low spot right there. You're right here. No black in it, but enough. I know it's going to show up. Alright, well, I got all the stuff pre-primed with the epoxy primer. I just went ahead and did that. I primed all these, sanded all the edges by hand, and then rechecked the bottom of it by hand just to make sure that the waves are down there pretty good. Not perfect. I got a couple, probably won't put that primer on back here, but over here I got all the bare metal primed, so all this too. So these are all done. They feel like they're going to just need one more coat of primer, so all that's done. Then all I got to do is the here in the roof, and then the jams. The jams I'm not going to do quite as much to. So The underneath side of the hood, yeah, I'll probably do a little bit to that. I'll probably get a little bit extra, maybe do an extra coat of primer on this where I had to do all that metal work. Yeah, so in the dash, of course, I'll make that look really, might double block that. I don't know. It's not that bad. Maybe sand it once and look at it and see. And then underneath, I'll probably, clean that up a little bit extra, put an extra coat of primer and stuff on that, making that look real good. So that's about how it's going. Anyway, I'm bringing gas back in a little bit. All right, well, this is pretty straight. That's pretty straight there. This one here, again, same thing. We're all primed up, pretty straight. That one there is pretty good. It's pretty straight too. And check this one out pretty good, and it's pretty straight. So we're ready on those. Got to do the roof. I got to do the front piece here and the aprons, and then take that hood off, get on this here and start sanding underneath that thing, and probably put some glazing on it because it was kind of hammered back into place. So there's some little micro ripples in there that I want to get to look better before I paint that. It's not that bad. I'm gonna use some polyester glazing. Somebody said, "Oh, glazing's terrible." That's the old school stuff. Polyester glazing is basically Bondo, but a finer grade. So it actually works. I've never had glazing crack ever. I've never had it fall off. I've never had any shrinkage from it. I don't know. I've heard all these different things, but maybe they're referring to the old primer putties, which those, yeah, if you put it on very thick, they would have issues and shrinkage, and it's not really good to use on the outside of a car. If it's something you don't care about, then you can use those old primer putties. Like I've used them every once in a while, like on an interior thing that I'm going to put carpet over or something like that to fix little things to, whatever. I've done that, but never on the outside anymore. It's just not worth it. So anyway, all right, I'll talk to you guys a little later. All right, that's what we ended up with there. Just a little skim coat here and there, and a little primer, and we'll get this thing rolling. All right, I got everything all primed up. That's final there. Got this ready, that up there done. This apron. The rear apron's all ready. Now I gotta just do the roof. I saw some metal work here I want to get. God, it just seems to pop up. So I think I'm gonna fix that. I was just gonna leave it, but you know what? It's got some holes in it, so you can see that. A couple holes over there, so better fix it. Now I gotta sand all these edges. I'm just gonna use 220. Now I'm gonna do everything with 320. I think. I don't know. I'm hoping I don't have to prime this whole thing again. If I got too many cut throughs like that, I'll touch them all up. But if I get too many, I have to just reprime the whole thing, and that's a lot of work. And then sand this whole thing all over again. Try and get this primer to work. One coat, or I put like, I don't know, 3 or 4 coats on here. But I call that one primer, even though it's 3 or 4 coats. You just one prime coat instead of 2 on the jambs. On the outside, I do 2. You can see this takes forever. It's all this hand sanding. Takes all the time for painting a car. And then to get it really perfect, you got to do a lot of hand sanding. Anyway, yep, got the whole thing to do, so I'll do all that and I'll bring you guys back in. So real quick, in a lot of the corners and edges, I'll use like this little sanding mouse with some 220 on it. Yeah, that's 150, but I'll use that with some 220, and then I cut out all the little corners and little places I can't get into very easily with that. Helps to save a lot of time. All right, well, this one says wet on wet, so I did this before and it worked all right, but I'm gonna try just to prime all these raw spots. And then that means wet on wet means no sanding. Just get rid of all that raw stuff. Just go for it. I mean, it's a jam. It's not going to be, it's underneath the hood. I just don't want to have, when you look up, you see ripples, you know. That wouldn't look good in there, a big chunk. Just doesn't shrink into those things. And kind of do this here. There's a lot of raw stuff there. A little raw one there. This size right here. It's all right. I'm gonna do wet on wet. We'll see how it works. I mean, if it gets like a little bit of a dry spotty looks or something, it's not gonna matter underneath here. I mean, as far as like the metallics, if they get like a little bit coagulated in one area, you're not gonna be able to see it looking up underneath. But it should look good. So be fine. Y'all worry too much. All right, there's what we ended up with there. Turned out pretty good. This is going to get, when I put this on, I'm going to use a little bit of Beetle around here. That's what was on there originally. I always had a little black Beetle to hold that on. So I'll bend the tabs slightly and then throw some black Beetle on there. Remember, this was all messed up, repaired, right? Both sides. This was too. You're not going to see any of that when it's upside down. So you don't got to get underneath the hood perfect. It just needs to be good enough to where it doesn't show up that bad. Because once it's upside down, it's in the shade and you don't notice anything. Remember these repairs on the end. That's how they look. So there's really no signs of really any. There's a little bit of that, but that's going to be in the shadow behind the hinge. You're not going to see it at all. So, should look good when it's in place. I just think about all the stuff that's going to show. A lot of people try and fix every little thing that you can't see, and you spend a lot of time doing that, so it doesn't really make sense. There's a little bit of a wave underneath here. This part you can't really see. Okay, you have to stick your head in the car and look back to notice it. So don't notice here, but what you really see on these VW hoods is right in here, and that was kind of hammery looking. So I did get a little hair there. Yeah, that came out. Cool. Little hair fell in it. Not much dirt. So anyway, underneath the hood, like I said, it's not. There's a little bit shadowy because it's sanded with, I don't know, 220. So I didn't really. So it's got a little bit of sanding mark in it. That's what that is. And a little bit of spray mark from that. When you spray, it soaks in different when you're spraying metallic over a heavy sanding. So unless you put a lot of coats on, if you put a lot of coats on, you usually can cover it up with metallic what's it called, base coat. It'll kind of fill it in enough. If you don't want to do that, you can spray the clear base coat on it first and then put the stuff over it. That'll kind of fill them in more. But anyway, I wasn't worried about it on this. So anyway, that's what it looks like. So there's this rust hole here, and it's kind of nasty over to right here. So I don't know. Really hard to see over, but it looks like over here there's a little bit too, but I don't know how far I'm going to get over into that. And then kind of gets nasty right there. I think I'll cut that. Those are pretty deep pits. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up to near this. I don't want to come up above this line. I'll stay right underneath it, and then I'll just go over. make a little L piece and put it in there. All right, so maybe I'll come all the way over to there, over to here, then go up along this edge. I'll go past that sucker there. Let's make one like that. And then this one here, don't know where I'm gonna start. It's a real awkward position in here. I don't know if I'm gonna worry about that. I think I'm just gonna do this part right here and just come all the way over to here and down. May open it a little further once I get in there, but I think what I'm gonna do is just reach in there with an acid brush and just put some treatment on there so it'll seal up all that so it won't keep rusting. Because it probably got some rust from behind, because that's why it's rusting through here. I'm not sure, but I'll see what it is, and I'll just try and treat it from the outside. It's really hard to work right here. Kind of hard to film. I got these lights here. And it's got a lot of light outside. I'd pull it all the way out, but I got the bug hood out there in the sun drying, so. All right, let's go with 1 1/4. That's what I measured. 1 1/4 over here. Just gonna take this whole piece across. It's easier. So I'll just make a line. I guess I'll use the plasma cutter, probably be easiest. All right, well, here goes nothing. Come on. Yeah, a little bit too slow. There we go. Alright, so it's easier to do this than measure. I always get it more accurate. If I measure it, I always get it wrong. So I'll go with that measurement, whatever that is. Guess I could go to here too, right? Since I'm going to bend the whole thing. Right there. I'll bend that on the sheet metal bender, bring it back. Alright, well, I'll guesstimate this. Make it a little bit longer than what I need. I think that's a little longer. It's hard to get up in here. I think that's a bit longer, so I'll go with that. I'm going to go with a little bit longer because when I arc it, it's going to take a little bit out of it, so I better make sure I got enough. It's easier to shorten it than to make it longer. Go with that. Alright, so it's a little too flat. So it's going to mark a couple spots to, let's see, I need to shrink right here, maybe. And right there would probably do it. I could do just a little bit on each few places between there. Maybe right here just a little bit. Not much. Yeah, I did this for years without one of these. Somebody just said, oh, get a shrinker. I was like, I guess. All you gotta do is just make slits in here and then you can bend it any way you want. But, you know, sometimes it's better after a while. I just got just a little bit there. Maybe I did too much. You can stretch it back if you need to. See. A little bit of an arc in there now. Let's look at it. A little too much, I guess. I can do it over here, or I can just, you can put it on the bench and just hammer on it. That'll stretch the metal. A little bit less. I just don't by look right now. Just a little bit. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, she's fitting pretty good, so just gonna have to take a little bit off of here, massage it a little bit to get it to fit, because I'm just gonna guesstimate. I looked at it already. Most of the time I just look at it, I just know usually, but just take some practice. It's really hard. That's why I wonder why I didn't use these to cut it. Just you don't get such a straight cut. But when you're cutting something real thin like this, it's not bad to use these. This is 20 gauge, so. All right. Easy to cut with those with 20 gauge, so that's why I use it. All right, I just put it behind in there and got inside the car and measured that. Cut it just a little bit longer. And get it with the grinder. It's really not hard to do this piece. I was telling my buddy CT he can do it, but those corners are a little harder. It's like they're a bit hard to do, especially when you got inside and outside to do. You'd have to do them both one at a time. Take a lot longer to do. So, all right, so got that off. All right, so it fits, but oh geez, fits, but it's just like a hair too thick all the way across. So just put a little black on there. So you grind it straight, or hey, I'll put a little tape. But if it's just a little bit, then sometimes just putting up a little bit of black on there helps. That's all right. Just take all the black off. All right, bring it back in. All right, so it's pretty close now. Got It slipped over just a little bit. I'll show you here once we get it up here. So it slipped over just a little, which is good. Put it in place. Line up both of these ends. As long as the ends are lined up, that's the thing I'm worried about the most. Look at that. That side came right into place. So that's good right there. Just got this. Got to decide whether I should just take it out again and do it one more time, or just cut through it with a cutoff wheel afterwards. I think I'll just cut through with a cutoff wheel. I'll just go right here. I mean, I could leave it right there clamped. Hopefully my clamps hold, so I can just cut right through at an angle right here. However, you guys are in the way. Many different ways to do this stuff. I can do it after I weld it in too. I do a little bit more in that corner. That way I'm not taking it off and putting it back on, taking it off, put it back on. I need to one more time just to take a look and see there's something holding it back right there. Yeah, just a little corner right there. Get a file. Get that out of there. All I could find is this little triangle final. Here. It could have been fixed too with the cutoff wheel, but yeah, looking good now. I like to take stuff off and on hundreds of times. That's one thing I try to avoid doing, but especially in an area like this, it's on the stands and everything, it's kind of where this thing's located, it's not very fun to work on. All right. So all I gotta do, I think I'll use my pinch welder. Hopefully it's working good. And I'll just weld this guy in first, because I cleaned all the metal up. You can't use the weld through primer with that thing. Nope. But it doesn't matter. There's no water ever going to get in there. You could take a straw and reach behind here and spray in there. Probably what I'm going to do anyway. So there's access to the back of that, through where the headliner goes. So I'll probably spray some of that red primer. I just use the red primer from, I'll show you. It's not automotive. You can't really put automotive paint over it, but this works really good. And what you do is you take your WD-40 or your, I think it's carb spray or one of those, the straw from that, and just spray it on. It kind of splattery. I take it and I squeeze the end of it, make it like a fan. And then I just squeeze the end of the little straw and I spray it, and it gets enough on there. It kind of makes runs in there. That's fine. Well, I got to tell you guys, that was super hard to do. I mean, you're trying to stand right here and you're welding upside down. Your line's getting kinked because it's hooking on everything. And you're welding upside down, which is the hardest thing to do. And I couldn't see a thing. So on top of all that, I think I got it pretty good. Yeah, could not see at all. You know, I just had to just pull the trigger and hope I hit the seam. That's the way it was the whole way along. I couldn't get enough light on it. I tried getting the light over here. That was terribly hard. So I got the other side to do still. Yeah, that's a pain. So anyway, at least I got one side done. It looks like I might have to do some more grinding, but I can't even see to do that. I'm going under there with the grinder. I don't want to grind through it. So I'm grinding on it in, you know, looking at it, stop, look at it, and go by feel and hope I don't go through. Then I got to start all over again. So it's a real pain. That's the only thing hard about this. It's not anything else. I mean, getting it straight. I could probably metal finish it if I had the corner rotisserie and I could turn it upside down. Then it'd be easy. It'd be like a piece of cake. Well, actually, it'd be hard because you still hit your head here. There's no easy way to do that area. So even in the back of the car, it's easier because you can stand in the engine compartment. You can stand right here. You can stand in here and then work looking up. And it's not quite as steep going up. It's not going like that. It's angled. So it's a lot easier. That front window, upper area right here, that's super hard to work on. I couldn't even stand in there and do it because I got this thing in the way. So, and every time I lean on it, the whole thing would slide out of your way. Oh, just awful. All right, so that was it for that. All right, let's try this one now. Had to take a break after that one. That was, I think, about right here. Right there, I guess, and right here. Do a couple little shrinkers. Bring it back in. All right, so it fits kind of close. I need to grind this down to get that other in there and look at it. All right, let's get it up in there. It looks like it's a little bit high right there. I'm gonna need to like stretch that just a little bit. Let's look at it now, see if it's any better. I just did just a little tiny bit. It probably worked okay like that. I'd say that's good. Now I just got to do the top edge. Same thing I did last time. I think I'm just going to trim off a little shaver. Take a look at it. right, let's take a look at what that looks like there. I just put a little bit of filler on it because on this on the welds, it was just, I was going to try and metal finish it, but just in here when you're trying to grind and stuff, it was just getting up in there. It was too hard to do. So I decided to just go ahead and use a little bit of filler. There's just a little bit on there. Let's see how it looks after it's coated. This is, again, this is an automotive primer, not cheap stuff. It's, well, that'll probably look all right once it gets a couple coats of primer. And I think the window should fit no problem. Got some pinholage going on, of course. Trying to put it on that edge is always hard. So anyway, I'll just sand that off once I get a couple coats on there. I'll fill in those pinholes with this here. Kind of load it in there. A little bit of that microwavage will go away once the window's in and I sand the primer. Put a couple coats of primer. I'm going to do one more after this. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Anyway, that's it for that, I guess. I don't know how much of it you guys can see. I don't know. The welding was really a pain in the ass because, again, I couldn't see. When you can't see what you're welding, it's really hard to know if you got a good weld. I mean, yeah, I know I got good welds because I listened to the sound, but you just never know if you hit the crack or not, if you'd missed it. And then, you know, you don't know if there's voids in it or whatever. It's just, so, because you're doing it upward in kind of the shadow, plus you're going upward, and weld doesn't like to go up. And then on top of that, your line is twisting different ways because of where the welder has to be, just trying to get it in the right place. The grounding clamp's a little short on that one. So anyway, just a little struggle going on that I seemed to get through, but it was, and your back's hurting because you're leaning over the side because you're standing out here. Then as soon as you lean on this thing, it moves and slides over. You know, it's just not a fun place to work. So anyway, all right. So anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and look into here, and we're going to get that rest of that hood painted. I think the next one I'll get the rest of the hood painted. Then I'm going to start painting. I'm going to do this finish sand on the roof, which that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Hopefully there's not too many waves in it. There's a lot of fun fixing those waves in the roof, but it's not hard. Sometimes I've spent, you know, old VW, you got to have the headliner out if you're working on a roof on the VW. You got to have the headliner, all the windows out. And you need all the windows out because you need to be able to reach through and get your dolly in there and knock the low spots. You know, I don't think there's that much going on in this roof. I don't think there is. I haven't really felt it over that much, but just from when I stripped it and sanded it, I don't think there was that much going on there, except for some rust that was on it, and it was just surface rust. So I'm hoping that I don't have anything worse up there. Then I got to get that hood. I got it in the sun, sitting there for a few days. I want to make sure it's good and dry so I don't mar up the inside of it, that I, you know, have to polish it or something while I'm working on the other side. So I'll put it on the stand and then do the hood, get it all prepped, and then paint that sucker. And then after that, once I got the roof final primed, then I'm going to have to go into painting some of this stuff. And I've been thinking, you know, you guys can make your comments now because haven't done the next video yet, obviously. Once this one's done and edited up, that means I've started on the process of the next step, but I'm not going to be going right into the body. God, you know, it's just so, you know, when you paint something like this, it's so big, you know, if you're trying, because there's a lot of surface area here. You got, you know, I'm going to paint this, all the insides of here, underneath there, the underneath parts. I want to paint inside here, but I'm only going to use the off color base on that. I'm probably going to rematch it and get it even closer, but I'm just going to put like one coat of base on there and then clear with a different clear. So I'm going to use a cheaper clear on the inside of all that, so it's all protected. Underneath, I'm going to use another clear, cheaper clear that works good. Under here, I'm going to use a cheaper clear that works good. This I'll use the good stuff. I don't know. And then the outside, of course, I've been using Tamco on most of that, so I'm going to make sure that comes out really good. So again, I've got to do here. I got to do under here, up under there. So I'm thinking about doing, if you try and do all that at once, it's more than likely you're going to have runs and orange peel and all kinds of garbage, because you got so many different angles, or you're going to forget something or whatever. You know, that's just from experience. It's just crawling in and out of there. You get tired. You start making mistakes. So I'm going to divide this thing up into some pieces. I'm trying to figure that out now. Because again, this is getting one color, and then all this is going to get the actual color. This is going to get close. That's going to get a coat of clear on it, and then up here, but I wanted to get clear on all this. So yeah, that was the reason I'm doing it that way. So it'd be easier if I use one clear on everything, but I mean, I probably could do all this with the same clear. I think I will. It won't matter that much. And maybe I'll just use the same clear on under here and all the jams here, because the clear I have is really good clear, but it's just less expensive and more available than the other one. So the price went way up on the clear. Obviously, we've had that problem all over the place. It's been really fun. And so I'm using what I got. So anyway, I'm going to do this here. Maybe I'll just do all that at once. Just thinking about doing this part of the body and the dash, but all of this here, the inside of this, I don't care. I just want it painted. So maybe I'll just do all this with the same clear, and then everything back here I'll have to do separate time. I don't care if I get dry spots in here or anything back here. So I may just sand this all down back here and just paint all that first. So that's what I was thinking about, painting all this first. Just do all that with base and clear. Shoot up underneath with base and clear. Shoot up under here with base and clear. And then possibly I'm just doing like this area, this part of the jam with base and clear. Again, for the reason is when you have to stop and go upward and spray this and get in a different angle, it's easier just to get into one place and just do all this at once. So I might just do all this and then mask everything off and then paint the outside. That's what I think I'm going to do. And I was thinking about doing the same under the hood. Because also the other thing that happens when you try and do it all at once like this, you end up getting dirt from the holes down here. I mean, you can blow it out for hours and you end up getting it still. So dirt blows up from places. So because you get too many nooks and crannies, and you got all the sanding to do all at once. So it's kind of, I'm thinking about piecing it out, you know. That's what I was thinking. So underneath, I was going to do one, you know, I could do like this little section once, and then another day I'll do like the whole inside, and then not the dash or anything like that, but you let the overspray just land on it or whatever, and sand it all off, and then do maybe under the deck lid another day, and then when I get to the point, I'll just do the whole outside of the body and the dash maybe at once. I don't know. I'm not sure about doing the dash because, man, that's really, you gotta think about that. You're gonna be reaching in here. Oh yeah, my back will like that. Doing the roof, having that wet, having this wet, and then having to shoot under there. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. So that's what I've been thinking about, you know. That's the kind of stuff I've been rattling around, trying to figure out how to do this. And that's why I'm not, if it was all together, I'd paint it all at once, because it definitely is not going to be a color match issue where you can have that with metallics a little bit. I'm hoping it's going to be enough of a breaking point that I'm not going to have an issue, because the way the hood has a real good hard line from the body, the fenders have a good hard line from the body, The only part that doesn't is the doors. So I could get done and then have to shoot and blend the outside of the doors to the body or something like that after I'm done. I think the deck lid has enough of a breaking point. Maybe that'll be an issue. I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't think I'm going to have any issues with color match, but you can. That's why I'm really monitoring my pressure and stuff like that, making sure I get the same pressure, same spray gun. When I did underneath the hood, I used a minigun because you can't see. There's no place that I'm going to have that hood open that you can see the two colors together. If it, metallics are off a little bit because it doesn't match from the metallics not laying exactly the same, then that's not going to show up. So, I've done this before. I'm just telling you guys because this is not your common way to do a car. It's better to do everything all at once, but this one here, because it's all apart, and I don't want to get overspray all over my work on the pan. I don't know. It's getting kind of weird. So anyway, not my normal way of doing it. Normally I would just paint the whole body, everything all at once, but there's just so much here that needs to be protected. I got to get the underneath sides of the body where it meets the pan. I want that all protected really well, and I want it the same color. So normally I will just do that with a roller. Even I'll take a roller and I'll just roll underneath here just to get paint on, just get something on it, whatever, black, whatever. But on this one, I want it painted the same color as the car. So I just want to do that extra stuff. It takes a little more time, and it does take a lot more time. So don't think it's easier or just as easy. It's way more work. So anyway, all right, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe.